I went to EduTECH! Yes! Hi everyone, welcome to Talk and Chalk. I'm Beck, I'm an assistant principal in Southwest Sydney, and for the last 3 days I've been in the city at EduTECH. Easily one of the biggest things I think I've ever been to. I can't believe how many people were there, and today my video is going to be a recap of what happened there so you guys can see what goes on. I met a number of you guys there. If you were there and you came up and you said hello, thank you. It was so lovely to meet you. I apologize if I did this and wasn't too sure who you were because sometimes I engage with so many people in our conversations, I can't always remember which name goes with which face. But I'm glad you came up and said hello to me. It was lovely to meet people. So I'm going to be, splitting this video into 3 parts. It's one video, but the first part I'm going to just be feeding back on some of the great things that I took away from the plenary, from the Congress, from the Masterclass. And then the next portion of the video is going to be just a bit of a montage of all the things that were at the Expo. Great things there. So like 3D printers and spheros and just all the different things that were there. I tried to get the company in shots of different things that were there, like furniture that was really cool, so that if you're interested, you know, you can look up that company name and see if anything suits you. And then the last part, I managed to get, well, I didn't manage to get, my friend managed to get video of me presenting at the TeachMeet area. So Friday morning, I got this message. Thank you so much to Simon, who sent me a message inviting me to be a presenter in the TeachMeet area. And I ended up presenting on flexible learning spaces on a budget. Now, it's a bit hard to see the presentation that I show, but you can hear what I'm talking about in reference to it. If there's anything specific in that presentation that you're keen to see, like the pictures of my classroom or furniture or anything, just send me a message. All of my links are in the description below. You just click the box below, message me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and I'm happy to share those things with you guys. It was really quick. It's only 7 minutes, but I have to say thank you to my friend Alicia, who came along with me and videoed that. So you'll be able to hear that. It's very, very quick. I had to like brush over a lot of stuff. There's no way you could do it in 7 minutes, but I tried to do it justice so that people had something to take away. So I'm going to get into it then. I went to the Masterclass on the Wednesday and I did the school branding and marketing Masterclass. The person who presented that was from America, raised in France though as a child, and went to school in France and then went to America, predominantly in the independent or private Catholic system over there. So a lot of what he had to say wasn't directly tied with what we're doing and wasn't necessarily on the same goal. Obviously in America, those private schools, they don't have federal funding, so it's all based on fundraising and fees. So a lot of their advertising is targeting enrollments, and when we do that in Australia, it's not necessarily the same thing. I know people want to boost enrollments, but really I just want to share the wonderful things that our school is doing. The key takeaway that I got from that masterclass, one of the best things, I've got my Surface Pro in front of me down here though with all of my notes. One of the biggest things I got out of it was when he spoke about the difference between external promotion and internal promotion. Internal promotion is the thing that I took away. External, I know, we do our letterbox drops, we do ads, all those sorts of things, posters outside, enrolling now, and we do it to advertise the wonderful things that we're doing. But what are we actually doing internally to promote ourselves with our teachers? And one of the things that he put on there, that he mentioned was that, you know, are you promoting yourself to your teachers? Do your teachers know why you're doing what you're doing? And if you're in the New South Wales public system, we have our school plans, so we have our strategic directions, but is that really promoted? Are you really sharing what you're doing? Are you advocating for what your staff are doing? Are you rewarding them? Are we praising them? And that's something I think was a key takeaway for me. A lot of us do things like shout out walls and you know, displays that show off what we're doing. Are we really promoting it well and doing it justice though? So that's something that I'm taking away as a key thought from that masterclass. And then he gave me lots of other ideas as well on the purpose. You know, what is your purpose behind promoting what your school does? Is it because you're advocating for change? Is it because you want new enrollments? Is it because you're trying to you know, extend to parents and reaffirm what you're doing with the school? And, you know, that's really what you need to think about when you're putting time and effort and even money sometimes into promoting what your school is doing. So that was a great experience, and I'm probably not going to pronounce his name right, but he, that was Dr. Arnaud Prevot, and he just had some amazing things to say. So I'll tag him in this and say thank you because I really enjoyed that masterclass. On the first day, I went to the Leadership Congress. We were all together for the first portion though. And this thing, oh my gosh, if you've ever been to the convention center, it was packed. It was insanely packed. Hands down, I think I had I had lots of favorites, I guess, but Prakash Nair was amazing. And when he first came out, the first thing he did was he got us all to stand up, and he spoke about how sitting is the new smoking. And he wanted to put out a cigarette by getting all of us to stand up and just wriggle a bit before sitting down, reminding us that, there are still schools where kids are expected to sit still in chairs all day long. And you can see how busy it was when everyone stood up.
Also, in a way, reminding you that we make our students sit on cheap plastic seats for several hours a day for several years of their lives. And it's just a little great way to remind you of that as well. Now, sit down. Continue smoking.
So yeah, it was packed and it was such a good vibe. The key takeaway from him though, sorry, and I'm just moving on to his presentation that I had here saved. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping a few people. Actually, I'm missing people. So he was the third speaker for that morning. And if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen this. It's been liked and retweeted a lot. And he spoke about the difference between being a carpenter and a gardener type of teacher in the classroom, educating like a gardener. And he said that, being a carpenter was standardized, it's controlling, it's enabling, and it's hierarchical. Essentially, being a carpenter, it has to be the same. If you're going to make the same table, it's got to be the same measurements, the same wood, every single time. In reality, we know there's different tables, different wood, that sort of a thing, but it's just that mindset. However, with the gardener has to be personalized, democratic, empowering, and distributed. So think of that garden. You've got to shape the garden to the environment that it's in, and that's what we took away in terms of teachers in our classroom. We've got to shape our classroom to the kids that we've got with us. It can't be the same every single time. It can't be standardized like that. And he said standards give adults comfort, but no two brains are the same. There is no standard brain, so why do we standardize education? Now, a lot of these things I already take into account. It was reaffirming the things that I do, but it was nice to just get that boost and that reminder around, that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're on the right track. So that was really good. Key quote that I love for the day though was, children don't need to be told how to learn. They are born with that skill. Teachers just need to create the environment, like a garden, in which they can thrive. And he showed this cute little video of his grandson learning to crawl for the first time. It was pretty much just a wriggle on the floor, trying to get to his toy. No one taught him how to do that. This is inherent thing that's in our bodies that we learn. We learn to talk and walk and grow and move and adapt and copy. That's what kids do. We need to give them that environment where they can harness those skills. It's built into them. They want to learn. We don't need to explicitly get down on the floor for everything and show them how to do it. There's no one crawling necessarily around. Well, there wasn't anyone around my firstborn when she was around. She learnt to crawl on her own from moving and trying and wanting to get things and having those urges in her body to want to do that. We have these skills within us. It was a great talk. There was also, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes again. I'm so sorry if I say these names wrong. Adam Gazzley, he was talking about neuroscience meets technology, and he had some really good points as well. Just talking about closed loop systems and brain plasticity, and how technology has changed our goals in terms of education, and how technology can be used to generate experiences. That was really good. And the key quote I took away from him was AI to HI, artificial intelligence to improve human intelligence. And I really liked that one. And then we had Anthony Salcito. I'm going to be crushed for these names, aren't I? Who was talking about the future of learning. And there was lots of AI stuff and having a purposeful connection to learning. And his key quote that I took away was, outcomes are easy to say, but there's a lot underneath about how we achieve them. And that's so true of education, especially when it comes to our curriculum and documentation that we need to adhere to. Mark Scott came out and spoke about the 2 technology challenges of education, and he was definitely technologically challenged that day because his slides weren't working. He did a great job though and just persevered. And he spoke about how the New South Wales public system is one of the biggest in the world, And I did not know that number-wise. I thought, hang on, what about America? But I forgot. America's broken up into lots of smaller states, lots of regions, lots of districts. New South Wales public system is just huge in comparison. And you know what? I think we're doing really well considering our numbers. And he spoke about how infrastructure is the biggest element in how technology can impact schools, which I really connected with, considering I was in a country school for 4 years, and I can honestly say that the infrastructure there did impact how we could access technology, and it shows that is a gap between our students across the country in how they're going to be able to utilize that to further their education. And then we had Professor Guy Claxton. I really need to address this. Was at the Sydney Morning Herald, they brought out this article the next day saying that he was putting forward a proposal to change the name of teachers to learning designers, and that's not what he did. He made an offhand comment about how education has changed phenomenally over the last century, and it's changed even more, if you go back through history. However, we're still called teachers. And he said, I wonder if we should be having a new name for teachers. He said something like learning designers, perhaps. He just threw it away there as that example of, do we need to change the name of teachers to illustrate the fact that education has in fact changed? And many people do. I don't call myself a teacher all the time. I often refer to myself as an educator or an assistant principal, an aspiring leader. And then they ran this article saying it was this big proposal and this is what we should all be called. Not how it went down. That's the media for you. So anyway, he had a good presentation as well, and his big thing that he was focusing on was that change language, focusing on saying is be to could be. What could it be? That open dialogue of what we're doing with the kids. And he spoke about how having a rubber in the classroom is not a bad thing. Some people have turfed the rubbers and said, rubber's allowed because, you can't edit and change. For me, I don't use rubbers because I want to see that editing and that changing. So I don't want you to rub it out and change it to make it look perfect. I want to see you crossing out and scribbling and changing what you're doing so that I can see your editing process. So I guess we had a bit of a different interpretation on that one. And he spoke about creating a quality dialogue in a didactic classroom. So, and essentially that's what we're all working towards too. The next day, Julia Gillard spoke, and there were some mixed opinions about the My Schools website. And then after that, I heard from, there we go, Peter Hutton spoke about the Future Schools Alliance and what he's doing. You might remember him. He was on the project a little while ago talking about how at his school kids get to choose their own subjects, their own teachers, they design their own learning, and there's been a lot of questions about how he can do that, and he clarified that in the breakout session where he spoke about how in Victorian system legislation says that any student on an individual learning plan does not have to meet mandatory curriculum requirements. So he put every single student on an individual learning plan, which is how they can do that, keeping in mind that this is secondary, this is older. So I think he said kids that are about 11 or 12 years onwards can do it that way. And I've got mixed opinions on that, on how that would work. Kids that age are still indecisive about what they want to do, and sometimes people need direction. So yeah, I don't know how. I'm really keen to see how that continues. I would love to see them track those kids for the next 5 to 10 years, after they leave school, to see how that's made them successful citizens in society, and if they've been able to, create their own businesses or be a good employee or achieve their goals or further education. At the moment, the idea sounds great. I want to see it flow on into making, great people pretty much, and seeing how that goes. So anyway, I've rambled for 13 minutes. This video is going to be pretty long. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to run just the montage sort of video of what happened in the Expo area. And then if you keep watching to the end, it'll just go straight into my presentation, which was flexible learning spaces on a budget. And then I'll just wrap up the video at the end. So hope you enjoy, guys. these things. Cause and effect. Oh, nearly.
So each of the pieces is magnetic. So
Oh,
you
okay.
can, you know, if something doesn't work, then you've got the ability to work out why it doesn't work and fix it. Or try something else.
Yay!
Oh,
I'm back again. It looks like Johnny Five. Do you remember that movie? Oh, wow.
The sixth kit is a virtual kit, which is then available all the time to everybody, all at the same because it's virtual. But I'll go through what those 5 kits are in just a second.
Can I play with it later? Just got to ask.
I think that's the ultimate question for everything here
Seriously?
today. Can I play with it?
I just want to play with it. I'm not a big kid or anything, Jen.
How long's this been running? 2 hours? 42 hours. Wow. That's pretty big. Students there, and this is just some of the things that we've been doing to implement the pedagogies behind flexible learning spaces without having to go and buy all the funky furniture that you see here today. We've definitely got some of those things, but we're all on a budget. We've got things we need to spend on. So these are some of the ways that we've been able to utilise things that we currently have in our school to be able to make sure that our kids have really got good quality learning in the classrooms. So there's my details if you want them. Best one to go to is just Twitter, BeckWest81. I'm happy to contact you on there if you want to DM me or anything. Take a picture, I don't care, that's fine. So from today, I'm hoping that you will be able to take something away from EduTECH and actually go and put it into place instead of just handing your boss a bunch of brochures and saying, I think I'd like some stuff, please. This is the quote that I use every single day. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So even if you don't have those things that you want to put into place that you see today, you can still take something away and take some action inside your classroom. This is my big picture. I want the kids to learn all of the things, not just the certain things that they want to learn or not just the certain things that you see them focusing on and that they have a passion for. I want to be able to make sure they have access to everything that's in our curriculum. So flexible learning, there's that quote that I like to use. It's about the quality pedagogy that allows for individual learners to engage in their environment to best suit their needs. I'm a mum of a son with autism, so I take that into account when I go into my classroom. I know not every learner is the same. I try to put that hat on when I think of all of my kids' needs. So this was my classroom last year. It was a Year 2 classroom, and you can see in there's none of the furniture that you can see around here today. This was all stuff we had in our school and a few bits and pieces that I brought from home. So this furniture down the bottom here, they're just the low-lying chairs that were, I guess, the staff room chairs you would often see. I don't know why we have them in a staff room, because I sit on them and my knees go up around my ears. And we just have a lovely SLSO who's amazing at recovering those. So we just get some really cool material. She staple guns it like a champ, and that looks amazing in our spaces there. The cushions there, I can't take credit for those. That was a pracky I had who made them, and now they're part of the school equipment. The ottomans were just from a factory seconds place that I got nice and cheap, and they all meet Australian standards, so they're in the classroom. All the other furniture that you can see, the jelly bean table, the tables and chairs, different heights and sizes because they were around the school not being used. I walked around the school and I found out what wasn't being used and what would fit into my classroom. So even though it's a Year 6 table, to my little Year 2 kids, that's a standing table or a table that they can have stools on. And then I just put it around the room in a way that would really enhance those learning modes that we use in the classroom. So we've got 8 learning modes that we talk about when we're focusing on future focused learning: collaboration, demonstration, discussion, experiential, feedback and reflection, independent, and the 2 others that I haven't got on there are the 2 that focus on learning with an expert. So learning with an expert and learning from an expert. That's the teacher. So I haven't taken photos of myself in the classroom teaching. That's why they're not up there. But you can see in here, those spaces are being utilised in that way in the classroom. So working together at that standing table for collaboration, working together for demonstration. So this is one student showing another student what they've been learning and talking about it. The discussion space, it's just a rug on the floor. That's all it is. It's a space that's been created by a simple circle rug on the floor. The experiential, so these are my kids that are at the computers. Obviously the computers kind of need to be dictated by the space that you have power and access to the internet. So that space didn't really change, but the way that the kids used it could change depending on how I guide those lessons. Feedback and reflection. So this was in our reading corner, but even though it was the reading corner, it wasn't always the reading corner. It could be used for any purpose depending on what the kids were doing in that space. And then independent. So you can see my spaces would change. So that was the reading corner in a different way in the classroom. My classroom didn't stay the same every single term. It was guided by my kids' needs. So when we changed what we were doing, the spaces would change as well to reflect that learning. So the bookshelf that's here was on wheels. I could just wheel it around the classroom depending on what I needed. And then it moved again into another spot. You can see here, these are just milk crates with, what are they, plywood, Clark rubber, and the material taped over the top. So it worked as storage, and it also worked as seating, or if the kids put anything hard on it, they could write on it as well. Storage is a big key factor here in being able to create those open spaces. And then that jelly bean table that I've got there, it was never covered with my teacher stuff. That is a guided area that should be focused on student learning and not for me sitting there as a teacher saying I'm going to utilise that space. If you look at that room, I did not have a teacher desk. There was no point. It was a black hole for my to-do list to accumulate with crap on the table. So I got rid of it. It's gone now, never to be used again. I'm so glad I got rid of it. It's been an amazing eye-opener for me because that created a whole area for more student learning. So these are the considerations that I take into account when I create that learning space. The light, sound, the comfort factor, whether it's indoor or outdoor, using the wall space, using the hanging space, and the storage. I'm tall, so I need to focus on me being able to walk around the room without hitting my head on things. Every kindergarten classroom I've ever gone into, I hit my head on the artworks always hanging from the ceiling. So I take that into account as well, because if my kids are looking up at any kind of anchor charts, I need to make sure they've got a good line of sight to be able to do that. Like I said, putting on my special needs hat, the way that I'm using my walls, that needs to be guided by the students as well. It shouldn't be me laminating stuff at the beginning of the year, making it look like a Pinterest classroom, and just having the walls cover to cover in stuff that they're not engaged with. It might look beautiful, that doesn't mean the kids are going to use it. I always made sure that they were targeted on what the kids were learning, that the students actually contributed to what went into the classroom, and that there was clear divisions between what was on display. And that comes down to kids being able to focus what they're looking at. A lot of my anchor charts were laminated, but they were in tubs, so when there was time to use it, just come out of the tub, straight onto the table, so the kids had direct line of sight to it. We know some of our kids with OT needs can't do this up and down with their learning, so if it's up around the room somewhere, they wouldn't be able to access it as well as they would sitting right on the table in front of them. These are my key components in terms of having a flexible learning space, is student voice and student choice. They need to know that they have some ownership over their learning, otherwise they're not going to engage with it. Having the choice to be able to go, I know I work best on that lounge, I want to work on that lounge. Because it's the same for me at home. I'm not going to sit at a desk the whole time to do my work. I'm generally sitting in front of the TV with a coffee. This is the rule I always have in my classroom when it comes to utilising those spaces. If you are doing your best learning, then you get to choose where you work. If you're not doing your best learning, then I get to choose where you work. And that sets the standard for all of them. It's a clear and specific expectation to have in the classroom. You can't debate it, and it doesn't matter what the student needs are, that ties in with what you're doing in the classroom. So this is just some of the outdoor spaces that we have at Bonnyrigg. They're beautiful.
some of our lovely executive are over there who are the ones that put it into place, and I love having those spaces. We've got beautiful big sliding open doors, which means that my duty of care is still with those kids, even if I'm not physically outside in that space with them. And they're happy learners. They love showing me the things that they do because they're proud of it, they have ownership over it, they have choice in what they do. It provides opportunities for scaffolding. They get to choose what they feel comfortable with, and then they can progress throughout. Letting them create their own activities was part of that design as well. And this is what I was proud of. They were happy and engaged learners at the end of every day. I was able to say they took something away every day and they were proud of what they did. There's more information on my YouTube channel where I show the 360-degree version of the classroom and my tips for how you can create flexible learning spaces. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer them as well, because there's...
Okay guys, that's the end of the video. So what I'm going to do now is put my button down the bottom here. You just click on, hover over that to click to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'm going to put one of my other videos at the top there, and don't forget, all my links and everything are in the description below to Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.